Welcome to the Easy Peasy Methodcast, the podcast that's here to help you break free from porn the easy peasy way. No guilt, no struggle, just a new perspective that makes quitting feel natural. Because real freedom isn't about giving something up, it's about gaining back everything porn has taken from you. The podcast where we explore the deep connections between human behavior, psychology, and the ways our minds shape our experiences. Today, we're diving into Wired for Intimacy: How Pornography Hijacks the Male Brain by William Struthers, focusing on one of the most profound aspects of his work: how pornography impacts intimacy and relationships. But we're also weaving in insights from the Easy Peasy Method, which offers a completely different perspective on breaking free from pornography's grip. Because here's the thing: we are wired for connection. Struthers makes this point early on. Human beings are designed for intimacy. Our brains, emotions, and even our physical responses are built to form deep, meaningful relationships with others. But pornography changes that wiring. Instead of reinforcing healthy bonds, it redirects the brain toward artificial stimulation, replacing real intimacy with a manufactured version that demands nothing but consumption. Over time, this rewiring of the brain affects not just the way a man views sexuality, but the way he engages with the people around him. So let's start with a simple but crucial question. What is intimacy? Struthers describes intimacy as a space where vulnerability, trust, and deep emotional connection flourish. True intimacy isn't just physical, it's mental, emotional, even spiritual. It's the ability to know and be known by another person, fully and without fear. But pornography alters this process. Instead of cultivating patience and empathy, two key components of intimacy, pornography encourages isolation and immediate gratification. The deep, meaningful process of building connection is replaced by a quick fix, a moment of pleasure that offers nothing lasting. And the brain? It learns from repetition. Each time a man engages with pornography, he reinforces neural pathways that prioritize instant sexual reward over genuine emotional engagement. Imagine intimacy as a well-worn path in a forest. When that path is regularly walked, it becomes easier to travel. But pornography builds an entirely different trail, one that bypasses real relationships and instead leads to isolation. The more it is used, the harder it becomes to return to the natural, original path of true intimacy. This rewiring has real consequences. Men conditioned by pornography often struggle to engage with their partners in a meaningful way. Instead of seeing their spouse or significant other as a whole person, they begin to view them through the fragmented, exaggerated lens that pornography has created. Expectations shift. Partners are unconsciously compared to the unrealistic scenarios portrayed on a screen. But real intimacy isn't scripted. It's not about performance or achieving an unrealistic standard of pleasure. It's about being present, about mutual connection, about a deep reciprocal experience. Struthers points out that this shift in perception leads to emotional distance. Many men trapped in pornography addiction report feeling detached from their partners. They find themselves avoiding deep conversations, struggling to engage in affection that isn't explicitly sexual, and even feeling disinterested in real intimacy. It's not because they don't love their partner, it's because their brain has been trained to seek out stimulation in a way that real relationships simply don't provide. Unlike pornography, which offers a predictable and controlled experience, real intimacy requires emotional risk. It demands patience, effort, and at times, discomfort. And for a brain accustomed to immediate rewards, this can feel frustrating. And the impact isn't just on men. Partners of those who struggle with pornography often experience deep emotional wounds. Struthers highlights how many women in relationships with pornography users report feeling inadequate, insecure, or even betrayed. They sense the emotional distance, they notice the lack of engagement, and they often blame themselves. Some try to compensate by changing their appearance or trying to match the unrealistic expectations set by pornography. Others withdraw, feeling that they can never compete with the fantasy their partner has been feeding. In both cases, the damage is real. Trust erodes, emotional safety weakens. The very foundation of intimacy begins to crack. And it's not just romantic relationships that suffer. Struthers makes the case that pornography also affects broader social connections. When a man's brain has been wired for objectification, seeing people as means of gratification rather than individuals, it doesn't just change his view of his partner, it changes how he interacts with all women. There's a loss of genuine connection, an inability to engage in relationships that aren't built around some form of sexual attraction. Over time, friendships suffer. Professional relationships become strained. Even family dynamics can be affected. The rewiring of the brain doesn't stay confined to one area of life, it spreads. So, how does one break free? Struthers is clear. It's not just about stopping pornography use, it's about rewiring the brain back to its natural design. This means actively cultivating real intimacy, not just avoiding artificial stimulation. It means learning to sit with discomfort, to embrace the slow, sometimes messy process of true connection. He suggests engaging in activities that reinforce patience and emotional depth, whether that's developing new hobbies, investing in deep friendships, or even seeking therapy to address underlying emotional wounds. And this is where the Easy Peasy method comes in. Unlike Struthers' neuroscience heavy approach, Easy Peasy simplifies the process by removing the fear of quitting. The key idea? Pornography is a trick. It doesn't actually offer real pleasure, only the illusion of relief from a craving. The book compares pornography to smoking. Smokers don't continue because they enjoy it, but because they're caught in a loop of cravings and temporary relief. The trick, then, is to recognize that there's nothing to give up. Once a man realizes that pornography is an illusion, that it doesn't actually satisfy anything, quitting becomes easy. And here's where Easy Peasy and Wired for Intimacy align beautifully. Struthers explains that many men turn to pornography not just for pleasure, but as an escape from negative emotions, boredom, loneliness, stress. Easy Peasy calls this the little monster, an illusion that porn solves these problems when, in reality, it creates them. Once you recognize that, the power of the addiction starts to dissolve. So what does this mean for breaking free? First, awareness is key. Understanding how the brain works, how addiction forms, and how pornography exploits natural biological systems helps to demystify its hold. Second, rewiring the brain is necessary. Struthers emphasizes the role of community, mentorship, and genuine human connection in this process. Easy Peasy insists that quitting becomes effortless when you stop believing that pornography offers any real benefit. And finally, learning to sit with discomfort is a critical piece of the puzzle. Struthers explains that one of the biggest challenges for men quitting pornography is tolerating negative emotions without their usual escape. But here's the truth. Growth happens in those uncomfortable spaces. It's not just about stopping an action, it's about learning to fully engage with life without numbing out. So as we wrap up this session of the Methodcast, let's leave with this thought. The real battle isn't just against pornography, it's for the ability to be fully present in life. Struthers reminds us that the brain is malleable. Just as it has been shaped by unhealthy patterns, it can be reshaped toward deeper, more meaningful connections. And when that happens, breaking free isn't just possible, it's transformative. If you're listening to this and thinking, this sounds familiar, or I've been trying to quit for years, here's the good news. You can rewire your brain. You can step outside the illusion, and you can rediscover what it means to be fully engaged with real intimacy, real relationships, and real life. Struthers. He lays out a compelling case for how pornography rewires the male brain, hijacking natural processes that were meant for real human connection. The problem isn't just about dopamine hits, it's about what those dopamine hits train the brain to expect. Over time, men conditioned by pornography struggle with real intimacy. Instead of forming deep bonds with a partner, they become dependent on a quick, artificial stimulus that gives the illusion of intimacy without the effort. The more pornography they consume, the harder it is to find real relationships fulfilling. But here's where Easy Peasy takes a different approach. It doesn't dwell on the mechanics of addiction, it dismantles the illusion entirely. The book argues that quitting pornography isn't about fighting urges or rewiring the brain through sheer willpower. Instead, it's about realizing that pornography doesn't actually provide pleasure at all. It only provides temporary relief from the cravings it creates. Think about that for a second. If something is truly pleasurable, it should leave you satisfied. But pornography never does. It creates a cycle of craving and relief, making users think they enjoy it, when in reality, they're just trapped. Struthers focuses on how pornography affects relationships, making men less present, less emotionally available, and ultimately less capable of real intimacy. He explains that many men don't even realize the damage until they try to engage in a genuine relationship and find that they're emotionally disconnected. They've spent years training their brains to respond to pixels on a screen rather than the unpredictability and depth of a real partner. Easy Peasy cuts through this with a simple truth. Once you recognize that pornography doesn't add anything to your life, quitting becomes easy. There's no need for willpower, no need for struggle, just the realization that you're not actually giving anything up. The book compares pornography addiction to smoking. Smokers don't continue because they love smoking. They continue because they're afraid of the withdrawal. But once they realize there's nothing to withdraw from, the addiction collapses. The same goes for pornography. One of the most profound insights from Easy Peasy is the idea that pornography doesn't relieve stress, boredom, or loneliness. It creates them. Struthers backs this up with neuroscience. He explains how habitual porn use makes men more anxious, more socially withdrawn, and less motivated to pursue real relationships. What Easy Peasy does differently is expose the mental trick at play. Porn users aren't chasing pleasure. They're chasing the temporary relief of a craving they didn't need in the first place. So where does this leave us? Both books agree that pornography has a powerful grip on the brain, but they offer different paths to breaking free. Struthers emphasizes rebuilding intimacy through rewiring the brain, replacing pornography with real human connection. Easy Peasy argues that quitting happens the moment you stop believing pornography has any value at all. Both perspectives are powerful, and together they form a complete picture. Here's the takeaway. You don't need to fight pornography, you just need to see through it. When you recognize that it doesn't make life better, that it's actually making everything worse, quitting becomes effortless. Struthers and Easy Peasy both point toward the same truth. Real intimacy, real connection, and real freedom come when you step away from artificial stimulation and engage fully with life. And that's worth rewiring for. And when you do, quitting isn't just possible. It's easy. If this resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Hit subscribe, drop a comment, and share it with someone who might need a little light today. You're not alone. We're rewriting the story together. Until next time, stay strong, stay open, and remember, freedom is your birthright. Every conversation like this brings us closer to freedom, clarity, and a life that feels truly good. Until next time, stay focused, stay free, and always remember, you are capable of so much more than you realize.